we're doing better as a result of social media presence.
If it doesn't do those three things, then it's on the chopping block.
It's a return on investment discussion.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host, Sam Dark, and thanks for choosing to be here on this Friday, March the 20th. And what a sales environment we're in this March of 2026. Week before last, the FTC sent warning letters to 97 dealer groups across the country over concerns that advertised prices don't reflect what customers are actually paying. And in so doing, that government agency sent a warning shot out to the entire industry. The agency laid out 6 specific practices it considers illegal, things like advertising prices that exclude mandatory fees, fees like dock fees. The debate this past week in auto circles has been robust. For example, in states where dock fees vary widely from $90 to hundreds of dollars, and there's some states where dock fee disclosures on state rules are supposedly prohibited altogether. So which supersedes? Federal rule, state rule? Who's right? Who's wrong? And then what about my zip code-based OEM rebates? There are many questions this week across the retail automotive landscape. NADA President Mike Stanton is meeting with the FTC next week, representing dealers' interests. NADA is then doing a dealer webinar with a senior FTC attorney on Monday, April 6th to demystify a little bit of this. Monday, April 6th, 1 p.m. Eastern. Same time we're live, so you'll have to do a split screen if you want to attend both. Go to nada.org and scroll down the page for the webinar and to register. We're also inviting right here, right now, the Trump-appointed FTC head Andrew Ferguson to join us on the show. Come join Daily Dealer Live. We'll give you, our loyal listening audience, updates on that and keep you current, of course, on this entire topic as it continues to evolve. We have got a huge show today. Ryan Carlstedt on taking service from a 10 grade to an 11. Darren Spenst on hidden money sitting inside your vendor contracts. And Lloyd joins the show on scaling service across 7 rooftops. Plus, we've got a super secret dealer guest on today sharing a perspective on a breaking news item. So first, let's hit today's auto industry headlines. Up first this week, the Federal Reserve held its benchmark rate steady at 3.5% to 3.75%. And for dealers, that means, as you know, the environment you've been navigating doesn't get easier anytime soon. Financing costs stay elevated, affordability stays tight, and most buyers are affected with this payment-sensitive and lower credit customers who are already stretched. Moody's Analytics summed it up well. Dealers aren't leaning harder on incentives, rate subvention, and longer terms just to keep payments manageable, especially on new vehicles where prices are still, they're historically high. Looking ahead, the Fed is projecting 1 cut in 26, possibly another in 27. But between the Iran conflict pushing oil prices up and inflation still running warm, even that timeline is not guaranteed. And as an aside, looking at the markets right now live, markets this afternoon seem to be suggesting a rate hike. The markets seem to be preparing for that. Next up today, Edmunds is out with another week of data showing EV consideration continuing to climb alongside gas prices. Electrified vehicles hit 23.8% of all vehicle research on their platform for the week of March 9th through the 15th. That's the highest weekly level of 2026 so far and up from 22.4% the week before. Most of that gain was driven by battery electric vehicles specifically, not just hybrids. The caveat is still the same one we flagged last week. GM CFO said the automaker hasn't seen a major sales impact yet, and analysts generally say it takes 4 to 6 months of sustained high oil prices before buying behavior actually shifts. Sometimes true, but not always. Many of us remember back 2008 how quickly that turned. In other words, dealers will probably see more cross-shopping conversations on EVs and hybrids in the near term, but not an increase in closed sales. Sticking with consumer behavior next up today, S&P Global is out with data showing industry brand loyalty fell to about 51% in 2025, while conquest volume rose for the 4th consecutive year and defections are approaching 4 million households. That means nearly half of all owners who came back to market last year they switched brands. For dealers, that means more shoppers are open to being won over than at any point in recent memory. And that the stores most aligned on their targeting, trade-in strategy, and outreach are best positioned to turn those defections into conquest wins. And last up today, breaking news from CDG. This just in this morning. Cox Automotive is ending its licensing agreements for Manheim Market Report and Kelley Blue Book data within the VINQ platform. This effective March 31st. That means native access to both indexes goes away inside the tool, though dealers can still reach them through the direct links. VINQ says they're replacing it with an AI-driven predictive market report launching April 1st, focused on forward-looking wholesale projections rather than historical transaction data. And remember, right now we're streaming across all social media platforms. Push your comments in. We'll bring your comments into today's show. And since this item is hot off the press, we wanted to bring on a dealer to get their initial reaction to the news. So let's get into that right now. Let's turn to our first guest up today, Andy Wright, managing partner at Vinart Dealerships. Andy, welcome back to the show.
Sam, how are you? Good to be with you.
It's good to have you here. You've been on the show previously. We appreciate you coming back to share with us this breaking news. So tell us, walk through us exactly what's changing for dealers April 1st. What does day-to-day look like now versus then?
Sure. So basically what happened was Cox Automotive informed the guys over at VINQ that they're no longer going to be sharing information that is fully integrated into the VINQ platform from the Cox Automotive ecosystem. So it's confirmed that that includes Manheim Market Report data, that includes Kelley Blue Book data, and supposedly, and I'm pretty sure that this is the case, it's going to include Auto Trader VDP and SRP data. So it's not that dealers won't have access to this information. They just won't have access to it natively speaking within the VINQ platform. And really, the big story here is just the friction that introduces, which is unfortunate. And I think it's emblematic of problems that have existed in retail automotive, at least in the 25 years that I've been doing this, whereby we have these large companies that are that control so much of the ecosystem, and they're able to make decisions like this today that negatively impact not only the dealer experience but the customer experience. Because with the increased friction being introduced, it's just going to make the customer experience more challenging for those of us that are using VINQ. We'll get through it, but it's just unfortunate because there's really no plausible explanation, or I should say there's no express explanation for why. I think we could all speculate, but I guess that's for another time maybe.
So to the point, VINQ, Cox owns vAuto, which is its competitive product.
Correct.
Is there precedent across other competitors to vAuto where Cox doesn't allow MMR or KBB to flow into those tools via an integration? Or have they shut down all of those?
Of the competitors that I'm aware of, yes, they have had those data sharing license agreements. Because again, it's my understanding that companies like VINQ or AccuTrade or any of these other companies that are out there that do ingest this information from the Cox ecosystem, that they're paying a licensing fee for it. And dealers are paying for this information. We all subscribe to Manheim to gain access to market report data. We subscribe to Kelley Blue Book to have access to that data. And I want to be clear, we still do have access to it. But the bottom line here is that this move on the surface does not appear to be rooted or substantiated by any type of legal threat or by security threat or anything along those lines. It appears to be on the surface just a move to enhance Cox Automotive's position with their vAuto platform over VINQ. But again, that's speculation. You'd have to ask the people at Cox Automotive why they're doing this. Hopefully they'll come out with an explanation, but on the surface, it just appears to be for reasons that are not good for dealers and for consumers. So that's unfortunate, especially given the fact that it's already, this information has already been in the platform. So why take it out now?
Yeah, and Cox, we've not approached them to ask for their feedback on this yet, but has Cox provided a response to why they're making this change, or has VINQ signaled what triggered it?
Not necessarily. No, I can't say that they have. I haven't seen anything directly from Cox. And there was a letter that was sent out by Danny Z and Chris over at VINQ to VINQ users The letter was dated yesterday. I received it via email overnight. And it's just a really unfortunate situation. And again, as someone that's been doing this 25 years and has battled the challenges posed to technology and technology infrastructure that dealers like myself and others use to operate our stores, it's just unfortunate, whether it's third-party companies that act as gatekeepers to these manufacturer certified programs, or situations like this where big conglomerates like Cox that control so much of the information that is important to retailers and is used by retailers. Decisions like this that get made are just unfortunate, and frankly, I think they're unnecessary. And until such time as they give us a realistic, understandable, substantive explanation, this just smacks of a company that's concerned about competing effectively.
It's interesting. We had Brian Benstock on the show a few months ago prior to NADA, and he announced and he showed everyone, our audience, a service drive tool. And he basically took 3 companies, asked them to all come together, work together, share data, share technology and techniques. And actually, it was a big lift getting those 3 CEOs of companies to work together. But what they created on the flip side of that was truly elite, and it served Brian's customers in a unique way. Is that the future of successful collaborations in automotive? And does this die eventually? Because this is the argument in automotive today. It's the argument over technology and data. Who owns it? Who should have access to it? And should there be a cost to it? And will that data be allowed to flow into competing systems? This does not, at face value, without a response from Cox, doesn't appear to be. It seems like it harms the customer experience, not helps it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, I think at the end of the day, companies like VINQ that are progressive, that are forward thinking, that are innovative, they're out there in the marketplace. They're trying to make the solutions that we use to service our customers, to run our stores better, more efficient, and more productive. And they have a demonstrated track record of doing that. That's why they have been so successful and added dealers at the level that they've been adding them lately, because they're checking all of those boxes. And then, if we turn our sights towards this issue of data and who owns it and who accesses it, the funny thing about this case is it's not like data was being accessed through subversion or through nefarious means. There were licensing agreements in place. There was money that was exchanging hands. The VINQ system was functioning properly and efficiently. And now this condition's been introduced, which is going to compromise that to a certain extent. So it's unfortunate, but VINQ is prepared. They've responded appropriately, as they always do with innovation, and that's encouraging. But again, I think the real takeaway here is that this is just another example of an unfortunate situation that is emblematic of the challenges that we face in retail automotive as franchise dealers, where these companies either have too much control or there are gatekeepers, and there's constantly friction being introduced into the system when we need to be working to take friction out of the system, Sam. And I know we've talked about that previously, and I stand by that.
Yes. So you said this is a move by Cox. I'm reading into it. It's a competitive move to restrict VINQ and restrict their product. Is it possible it was a business decision? Is it possible it's related to data access or maybe some sort of an agreement? I mean, we just don't know, I guess, at this point. It's a little early, but VINQ's not signaling on their end what prompted this.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, to be clear, I don't have any information one way or the other. All we're talking about here is pure speculation. So again, I think it would be prudent to invite the folks from Cox Automotive on the program and let them explain the decision and let them explain why this was necessary and why this was ultimately good for competition and for the marketplace and for all the reasons that we would like to think and hope they make decisions like this. But again, I'd have to defer to them. Everything else is pure speculation.
So Andy, for that dealer who's with VINQ, who got this information, who decided, and actually that'd be, I guess, the next question, not having easy access to MMR and Blue Book data information sitting, or Kelley Blue Book sitting in the VINQ app, how much extra time does it create? Like, what is the cost to the dealership to not have that accessible natively? And then for the dealer sitting on the fence, do you stick with VINQ, or do you say, hey, having that ease of access is worth going back to Viato or a different platform that has access? How long does it take? And then how should I be thinking about that choice?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think that as a VINQ client, I look at it. I'm disappointed, obviously, but I'm also heartened by the way they've responded. They've responded again, like I said earlier, with like they always do, with the type of innovation and support that we've grown accustomed to as VINQ clients. And I think that if you're someone that's on the outside looking in, meaning you're not a VINQ client, I think it might be reason to say, "Oh my goodness, what are these guys doing that has Cox so sideways?" It must be something that's pretty special if all these dealers are making the move. Maybe it's something that I should be looking at. And I think as the tool grows in prominence and grows in usage across the dealer network out there in the United States, it's only going to help to fortify their position as a leader and an innovator. And that's good. I mean, that's choice. That's what we want as retailers. And I think we need to do everything we can to talk about that and encourage it.
So part of VinQ's response, I saw the letter that was forwarded, is saying that they're basically saying, hey, our technology is going to actually beat Cox's technology as it relates to MMR and Kelley Blue Book. VinQ is saying predictive data beats historical benchmarks like MMR. Does the industry actually buy that yet, or is there still heavy attachment to those old guides?
Well, I think it boils down to a case or or discussion about leading versus lagging indicators, right, Sam? I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. I mean, one can certainly draw any kind of inference they want out of looking at historical data, and the same goes for looking at forward-looking data points, right? So I think the most important thing is that dealers have all of the information at their disposal to make informed decisions to run their businesses. And I think it's up to our solutions providers and the people that own the information that dealers, again, are paying for to be able to access that information via the mechanisms that they choose to access it. And in this case, for all of us, it was via VINQ, but Cox has decided to turn off that capability, which is unfortunate.
So VinQ's releasing their new tools free at no additional cost. What do you make of that? Is that goodwill by VINQ, or is that damage control as they seek to stem an outflow of customers who no longer have easy access in the native app to these data points?
No, actually, that's consistent with how they operate. They're constantly improving their product, improving their platform, making enhancements available to their dealers. They get it. I mean, Danny is a dealer. He understands what retailers go through every day and what we need to manage. And the ecosystem that he's built is rapidly becoming industry leading. And I think that's the other story here that needs to be taken away from this whole discussion. The narrative around what is VINQ doing that would provoke this type of reaction from Cox, right? And
what are they doing? What do you think the answer is?
I think that they're a formidable competitor. And I think that that's gotten the attention of companies like Cox that have dominated the space, especially with products like vAuto.
So what would your message be to Cox as we wrap up today? I do want to ask you a couple market questions, but what would your message be to Cox about this action and the future of the way they interact with other vendors? If what you say is true and it's a competitive decision rather than a business decision.
I would say to them that for dealers like me who subscribe to multiple products within their ecosystem, like Manheim Market Report and Kelley Blue Book and Auto Trader, that we deserve the right to access that information via the mechanisms and channels and platforms that we have asked for and have historically done so. Like I said, there's precedent here for what's gone on, and absent a reasonable, plausible explanation for why this decision was made, they've made the wrong decision. And my hope is that they would reverse course and turn this spigot back on, if you will, Sam, so this data can flow back into VINQ and we can use it to access it to make informed decisions about our business. But if we can't, we'll adapt. We'll be nimble. That's what we do as retailers. You know that, Sam. You've been doing this a long time too. And this situation will be no different. But I don't think in any way, shape, or form it devalues the VINQ platform. I think, again, it only helps to raise the stature of VINQ and what they're attempting to do to assist the industry and to help grow the business of the dealers that subscribe to the platform. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Yossi, our own CDG Yossi, comes into the comments, says 100% our editorial team is reaching out to Cox now, so we'll have perspective on that very shortly. Andy Wright, managing partner at Vinart Dealerships. We absolutely appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your perspectives on this breaking news. So
Thanks,
thank
Sam.
you for being with us today.
Absolutely. Anytime, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And all right, almost on cue. My technology went crazy. So now I have to do a two-step verification to get back into my run of show here. Hey, we are excited to bring you a great show today as part of the Car Dealership Guy. It's Fixed Ops Friday. Let's dive straight long into our first guest today, Ryan Carlstedt, EVP Fixed Operations at Willis Automotive Group. Thanks for being on and joining the show.
Thanks for having me, Sam. Glad to be back.
Thanks for being here. I've got to pivot just a little bit, so hang on just a sec. I have to, if you can believe this, in 2026, I have to go through a two-step authorization here to get back into my spreadsheet.
I had a field service engineer in my office yesterday from General Motors, and we were trying to log in. We had an hour meeting scheduled, and the first 15 minutes was just trying to get into Global.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So technology, it's so interesting to Andy's point. And we will get a Cox response on this breaking news from today. Technologies are so dependent on each other, interdependent. So you see a gold standard tool like MMR, Kelley Blue Book, and its ability to exist natively in even competitive tool sets really sets the stage for success or not. And it is an interesting thing. Tools being able to limit each other's access, it does create a little bit of a challenge, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah.
All right. Give us, tell us a little bit about what you do in the world for those in our audience that don't know you and aren't familiar with you.
Yeah. So from Des Moines, Iowa, Willis Automotive Group, we've got 9 different franchises that we service, mostly luxury, but not all. I'm the executive vice president of fixed operations. So all the service parts, collision, detail, our business development center, all of those departments roll up to me. We've got about 500 employees, and probably a little over 300 of them are on the fixed ops side.
Wow. How's business this month?
Oh, man, business
March
this
of
year,
26.
this month, it's great. We came out of the gate strong. In the Midwest, so much is reliant on weather. And we've had 2 big snowstorms this year, but they both hit on Friday nights. So they really hurt us on the variable operations side, but they help us out on the fixed operations side to not miss any business days, not miss any opportunity to sell those labor hours. So service is hot. Our parts is trailing off just a little bit. Collision's good. Everybody's doing really good here.
All right. So you run 5 different brands. You've got Infiniti, Lexus, Nissan, Cadillac, Chevy. Most fixed ops leaders in your role. And what?
9 brands. Yeah.
Oh,
Cadillac,
I missed. Well, who did I miss? Give me the ones I
Cadillac,
missed.
Lexus, Infiniti, Volvo, Land Rover, Jaguar, Mini, Chevy, and Nissan.
Okay, very good. So walk us through how you actually maintain consistency across that lineup in your role.
Well, 7 of our brands are right here on the campus together, so consistency is pretty easy. 2 of the stores they're within 10 or 15 minutes. So, we use the book Traction EOS. I know Bill Demery's been on your show talking about that before.
Yep.
We're big believers there. Whether it's a weekly meeting with my team, the fixed ops management team, whether it's a weekly meeting with the executive team on down, our managers have weekly meetings with their teams, and communication's number one. Keeping everybody on the same page is number one. And it's pretty easy to do when you've got a great group of managers, like-minded, competitive, continue to drive forward.
So in 2025, you had the theme "Make Work Fun Again."
Yep.
MWFA. Right. And now in 26, your theme is "Our Guest Care Goes to 11." So
yeah.
what's that about, and what does going from 10 to 11 actually look like in true practice?
Well, I'll back it up to 2025. So the Make Work Fun Again, it was just an effort to change our culture. Fixed operations can be stressful at times, and whether it's techs, advisors, managers, people butt heads. And I said, when I started in the business 25 years ago, we were out there having fun every day. So let's just do that. So it was our focus last year to just make the shops fun, whether it's music or contests or whatever. let's just be pals and all the way around the dealership. And we were successful. And, it turned into great CSI too, because everybody was having a good time. And 2025 was our best year ever across the board for our CSI scores.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking of what can we make our theme for 2026, I'm a little older and I think let's go Spinal Tap. Let's turn it up to an 11. And we got 10s last year. Let's turn it up. Let's turn everything up to 11, whether it's the fun that we're having in the shops, on the drives with our guests. And let's just turn that guest care number up from a 10 to an 11. Now, I had this great idea. I was going to bring all of our advisors together in this 6:30 a.m. meeting. It's a regular training meeting we do, but I'm going to launch this, turn it up to 11. And I looked around my manager room and I saw there were guys in that room that didn't even know what the heck I was talking about. And I kind of said, wait, what? You guys don't know Spinal Tap? And it goes to 11. So I showed the clip to them and everybody had a good time with it. And I said, okay, well, we bring it out to the advisors. They're even younger yet. Yeah. Let's make sure everybody understands. So I kind of kicked that meeting off with some training stuff. And then I said, okay, let's have some fun. We're going to watch a video. And they kind of roll their eyes thinking it's going to be,
they loved it.
Videos. And I hit that scene from Spinal Tap where they're talking about the guitars and the amplifiers. And
Ryan, I'm going to get myself into trouble.
What?
I have a really good cultural background. I understand. I don't know the scene. I wish the producers could bring this up. I've got to go pull it up.
Yeah,
our audience is going to.
As soon as you're done with the show, Sam, just go to YouTube and look for it.
I'm doing it.
You're going to be
doing it.
Up. It's just that dry humor.
Yeah.
Amplifiers, they all go to a 10. 10's the loudest. Well, Spinal Tap, the greatest rock and roll band of all time.
Yeah.
Their amplifiers, they had specially made to go to 11 because it's a little bit louder. And so I showed that to our team, though, and I said, that's what we're going to do for our guest care. We turned it up to 10 last year. We had great CSI scores, but this year is about taking it that one step further, whether it's, we drop the ball, maybe we're sending flowers to their work, when they pick their car up, maybe we can get them tickets to something, whatever it may be. Just let's go to that next level of guest care.
So you gave two examples of what it means to turn it up to 11 Spinal Tap style in 2026. Are employees empowered to make those decisions? Do they come back to you for approval on it? How have you turned that into a system? And by the way, Paul Salzman comes in and says, it's a legendary film, Sam.
It is.
So obviously I need to go watch it.
I'm questioning your culture here.
That's right. I know.
But we did a little contest to kick it off, and I gave a little bit of a budget to every department. And I said, look, as managers, you decide how you want to do it. Whether you just say, look, when we hit this number, we're done. Or if you have $500 and have 5 advisors and say it's $100 each, have fun with it. And everybody can do it their own way. So that way we're sure the advisors are bought in. And, some of them bought things. Some went to Starbucks and bought a bunch of Starbucks gift cards. And when the guest came to pick up their car, everything went good. They said, here you go, just a little something extra. It's cold outside. Stop on the way home. Get yourself a warm cup of coffee.
I love it.
Everybody just did a little bit different. Our Lexus drive, our Lexus service manager knows a guy and he prints wrapping paper. And he had special Lexus wrapping paper made and used some Lexus branded gifts and wrapped them up and kind of gave gifts to people just like as if it were Christmas time. So, it's fun to see. I said the only rule is you got to come back and tell the story to our group. And, we know that if we come back and tell the story, that guest on the other end of it, they're at work with their coworkers and they're telling the story. And, part of our process here, we call it the proven process, but step 5 in our proven process is to build customer advocates. And darn well that if we screw up, people are at their job and they're saying how bad of a job we did. But what better than 2 days later we screwed up and now all of a sudden they receive flowers at their job.
Yeah, that's
everybody
cool.
goes up and they say, where'd the flowers come from? And they have to say, well, that Willis service team sent me flowers and, they made it right. So it's have fun, turn it up, and let's make it a great year.
So you call your fixed management team currently your strongest ever.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
What give us in March of 2026 for everybody listening? What's one thing that you've done to create this strongest than ever fixed management team? What makes it the strongest ever today?
It's just having the right people in the right seats, having, the right people in that room. I mean, we've upgraded a few. Addition by subtraction, if you will. We do a really great job here of promoting from within. We had a rock star advisor at our Infinity store that, he wanted more. That job came open about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. He wasn't quite ready. And it came open again, but it was his time and it worked out well. We promoted him into that role. And gosh, that department just exploded. Younger guy. When we have our fixed operations meetings every Thursday, we've got a couple managers that are former technicians. We've got a couple managers that are younger. We've got female managers. There's not anybody in that room that's not represented. So when we bring our minds together on a Thursday just to bounce ideas off of each other, I feel like we just do a great job of covering it from every single angle possible. And that when we leave that room, we leave with a lot of great ideas and put them into action.
And you talk about how currently, since you've got your strongest team, now it's about fine tuning and it's about leaning in. NADA data shows 6,000 open service bays nationwide with no techs to fill them. You're deep in Skills USA and the DMACC pipeline.
Yeah.
So for a dealer who's watching right now wants to build a tech pipeline, where would you start March 2026 to build that and develop what you're creating?
I mean, yeah, you got to start in the high schools today. And whether it's high schools or community colleges, you have to start them young. You got to build your own technicians. The ATECs, they're comfortable where they are. They're not jumping ship. If they are, they're probably just chasing the dollar, which is that really a guy you want on your team anyway?
Yeah.
So, get in close with those community colleges with auto programs, get in close with the high schools with auto programs. We've got our summer apprenticeship programs coming up. We're taking applications for that now. We bring in apprentices every summer for a 10-week program. And on the paperwork that I made for that, call it the flyer, whatever, the marketing piece, at the bottom, I said, if you graduate the 10 weeks and you meet our company core values, I will guarantee you employment.
Ooh.
And it's been great. I think this
How many have you brought on board to the organization? How many have you hired?
This will be our 5th year. We've had 4 each year. So just quick math, 16 we've ran through the program, and
yeah.
I'll bet 8 are still with us and 2 are gonna be. They still have school to finish. One of them we had last year. He was between his junior and senior year of high school, and I mean he has it. He's a technician in his blood, and to be that young, he's got such a bright future. He's in a program called Avenue of Scholars. They just rebranded it Talent Collective, but it's a Des Moines Public Schools program for at-risk kids. And they bring them up, they help them through school. If they graduate the program, they get their community college paid for.
That's
so
strong.
This young man, he's a natural. He did 10 weeks with us last summer. We kept him on part-time because he could work part-time in high school. So he works on our lube rack on Saturdays. He'll go to DMAC when he graduates. He'll get an AAS degree from DMAC. He'll continue to work with us through that time. And we can't wait to have him join our team full-time when he graduates. And the leg up that he'll have on anybody else at that point, it's immeasurable.
And plus to your team, who strongest ever, you're creating a great story and culture and meaning around what it means to be part of that team, working there, and the reward, ultimately the payout. So before we wrap up, I just want to transition to 2 things. One is a dealer financial statement. I'm going to ask you to put your dealer hat on. But before we do that, the service lane, we talk a lot on the show, is increasingly the best place to source used inventory. In fact, Cox Automotive data shows that the trade-in tipping point is around $3,200 in repair costs. How are you capitalizing on that opportunity in 2026 with sourcing used inventory in your fixed operations?
Yeah, we've got 2 outside employees that they use the equity mining tool to look at our appointments, and they reach out to those guests before they even come into our service department just to kind of prime them to see if they'd want to get an appraisal when their vehicle's in the shop. Our Nissan store, they actually put the salesperson out there. they don't use the outside too. They have a salesperson that, he was young, and I don't know if I would say he was performing great. I'm not entirely sure. I like to focus on fix, but
Yeah.
he was the right guy to put back there. And they change his tile around, change his job duties around, and he greets people on our service drive at the Nissan store now. He helps them get a drink, but then he also gets them an appraisal of their vehicle when it's there. And gosh, I think they started in December, and they reported back at the end of December on how well it was working. And this kid's sales are through the roof, and he's spending half the time, where all other salespeople are probably just working the phones. He's working the drive, and he's coming up that leaderboard fast. So
you said he was the right person.
Yeah.
From your perspective in fixed ops, for those in variable listening, what are the characteristics of the right person that has made him successful in that role? Because that is a tough. Like you do have to find the right person committed to that role to make it successful.
Honestly, I'd say really new to the business, because I feel like we've tried it and failed so many times that you got these people that have been in the business for so long, and they've seen it where this is your hour. You got to go be out there, and they just roll their eyes and hate it. They come in with the wrong attitude. He was kind of too young to know any better, and he went in just with the super positive attitude and made it work, because he didn't have the bad habits. He didn't have the negative connotation. He went in there and said, this is going to be something to help me become successful. And it's that attitude. So, the people who've been selling cars for 20 years, you probably can't coach their attitude or change their attitude. So he had the right attitude. I think that's probably the number one thing.
All right, last question up. You've been focused on this 11 experience. You've got a great culture. You've got a strong leadership team. For a dealer who's watching today who says, hey, I'm going to go walk back through service department. This is an assignment for everybody. My fixed ops department in the next half hour. What's the single most important thing they should look at right now to know if they've got a well-run, successful service department, or what's one thing they could look for and say, hey, this needs to change if you walked back?
I'd say process. You can see processes, processes are on paper, but if you're walking through the department, you can see processes in action, whether it's the service advisors greeting the guest at their car, and whether it's the technician doing the video multi-point, the parts department delivering the parts out. You can walk back and recognize a well-oiled machine. And there might be some dirt on the floor. We fix cars back there, but you can visually see the process. And I think as a dealer walking through, just observe people's movements, because as I said before, we sell labor hours. So to minimize the movements and maximize our efficiency, that's the most important thing. And if you just stand up, whether it's a tower or a dispatcher desk or wherever, you can see those movements, and you can see the efficiency visually rather than a paper process.
All right, I got another question for you.
Shoot.
Low customer pay. You walk into a dealership, low customer pay. What's the antidote for low customer pay relative to NADA numbers in March 2026? What's the fix?
How quality of inspections, video multi-point inspections, working with advisors to overcome sales objections.
Yeah. What video MPI do you use?
We use AutoPoint.
Okay.
Yeah. Solera Suite. AutoPoint's the route sheet. It's what we send it out through. We use Numa. We send them out through text, but we shoot them through AutoPoint, which is a Solera company.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's about the experience. And what training system do you use for your advisors, technicians on delivering that experience?
Me.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, we do some 6:30 a.m. monthly training sessions. We work with the management staff. It's all hands-on. We've sent some to some NCM training. Most all my managers have been to NCM training. I've been there, but we teach culture more than anything. We teach hospitality. We're a Lexus dealer, so we steal a lot of their stuff. Lexus, when it comes to hospitality, is number one. So we, cascade that Lexus message and make it a Willis message.
All right, Ryan Carlstedt, EVP Fixed Operations, Willis Automotive Group. We're going to have you back as part of our traditional roundtable. Appreciate you being on the show, sharing your perspectives, and we'll have you back here momentarily. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure was mine.
Thank you. All right. Let's talk stream companies. Today's episode is brought to you by Stream Companies. How much revenue is slipping through the cracks at your dealership? Stream Companies Missed Opportunities Report analyzes your strategy and highlights where you can drive more sales faster. Request your free report today at streamcompanies.com/DDMOR. Again, request that report today at streamcompanies.com stream.com/DDMOR. And props to Stream for supporting the content we've had today, including Ryan's take on how to turn it up to an 11. It's a Spinal Tap inference. I'm going to go watch that after, as well as Andy Wright's perspectives on technology sharing in 2026 in this automotive space. And turning to the chat before we go to our next guest, I love it. Everybody is in there. John Roper, turn this thing up to 11. I can't wait to see a SWAT team, but this one goes to 11. Michelle, why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder? And then Dan C. pipes in, Kula Lake is awesome. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Diving into our next guest, Darren Spenst, founder and CEO of The Laundry Guy. Darren, welcome to the show.
Hello, Sam. It's great to be on the show. Thank you so much.
Hey, for our audience that doesn't know you, who are you and what do you do out there?
Yes, I'm one of those laundry guys. So I started with Cintas many years ago. I was 27. And so I've been in the industry almost 30 years. Nice. And we started this company in 2004 and really it just came out of a need where as a sales guy at Cintas, I would sell something and all of a sudden it would be double a couple of years later. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And so what we do now is we're the #1 cost reduction company in uniform and linen. We kind of pioneered it. There's a few people out there doing it, but we've solely just stayed in our lane and specialized it. Instead of saying, hey, we do 20 categories, we really have spent our time and our dollars developing software, helping clients. In fact, Ryan from Willis Auto was one of our clients for many, many, many years. And so we're privileged to be a part of this group. We have a lot of different categories that we do business with. But I will tell you that I'm partial to the auto dealers. They're fantastic people, and we've had great success. We've had hundreds of dealerships that we've done in the past, and we hope to do a lot more moving forward.
All right. And in fact, as we go on today, you've got a word to say about dealers during COVID. But before we go to that, you've audited over 2,000 locations. You say over 80% of businesses, dealers you audit, have some sort of billing drift. For a dealer who's never heard that term, walk me through what billing drift actually looks like on a monthly invoice.
Sure. We kind of call it invoice creep, right? So dealers and COs like yourself, fixed ops directors, you guys are really good at negotiating. But I'm going to tell you something today. It's rigged. Okay. So here's the deal. You sign an agreement. I want you to remember this phrase here. Invoices change, contracts don't. Okay. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, what ends up happening and what's written into these agreements is that these suppliers can change the price on your invoice and you have to notify them. It could be within 10 days or just a price increase. So what ends up happening is ticky-tack things start to add on. And so I can be more specific on exactly what type of things, but what ends up happening is over time, they start increasing things. It can be inventory. You know, the shop towels were 20 a guy, now they're 25 a guy. There's 5 ways that they charge for a shop towel. So if you don't negotiate all 5 ways of how they're going to charge you for that shop towel, they have the advantage.
So as you see that invoice creep, and I've seen it, how should a dealer respond March 2026 to prevent invoice creep in the uniform business?
Yeah, outside of calling us, this is what I would do. Okay, right today is grab your contract, look at your invoice. What did I agree to? You know, Sam, we have hundreds and hundreds of clients that we deal with every single month. We negotiate the deals on behalf of dealers or companies out there. Inevitably, when we install that new pricing, it is never contract compliant, meaning there's a lot of details, there's human behavior, there's all this kind of stuff. But think about this. We've been doing this since 2004. Now, today, 2026, the accounts are bigger, they're more complicated. And so what you have to do at the end of the day is ensure for contract compliance. And we have to check it. 50% of the clients that we audit every single month after we've negotiated on behalf of the clients is not contract compliant. It can be a little thing here. It can be a little thing here. Some of the tricks are on your agreement. You've got a 3x10 mat that's on the agreement, but they switched it out with one of these zippity-doo mats that are way cooler and way better. Well, that's not on the contract. So that 3x10 mat now is an onyx mat. So it is not negotiated. So something that the dealers can do right away is just say, what does my contract say? What do my invoices say? What are the items that are not on there? that I need to negotiate at the end of the day. And honestly, let's be fair. You dealers are busy. This is not number one cost or third or fifth. And you guys look at it every 3 years or so, and you negotiate, you do a great job. But I'm telling you, as soon as that contract is done, it's about the invoices. And we've developed software to ensure that on a monthly basis, every single line item is checked for contract compliance. And it has to be a net savings at the end of the day. The only way we can help clients is we actually save them money.
So it's interesting. I think there's two types of creep in your business, that the area that you're in that fixed ops department, uniforms and supplies and all that. So you get the price creep over time, and you're right. Like I see that, and you've got to push back on that. The other side you see is quality decrease or quality decline over time. And I don't know, there's something about, as you partner with somebody over time longer, you become comfortable with each other, you kind of become a little lackadaisical and whatnot, and the quality can go down, whether the timing delivery, the quality of the uniforms that are delivered. Why does the quality decline over time in your experience? And how should a dealer think about maintaining both those lines, avoid the invoice creep, but then also avoid the quality decline on the flip side?
Well, I can tell you something tactical that we've done with clients that have that is you have a quarterly meeting. You write it into the contract, okay? So that you have on a quarterly basis, you're meeting with the service manager, being with whoever it is. But you and I know, Sam, it starts with leadership. It starts right from the top. Yeah. And so if you have people, process, product, at the end of the day, you have systems, and trust me, these companies have tons. But this is an interesting fact that happens is that they're always managing X dates. Okay. So the expiration. Yeah. Do I have a good relationship with this person or do I not? And I can tell you, when it's not a good relationship, they kind of stay back. And then they're like, okay, we'd like to renew this, but they'll actually let it go past, Sam, because a lot of clients don't know that, hey, this thing auto-renewed. Like this auto-renewed. And I know state by state, it can be a little bit different. But, putting it into the agreement and then making sure your staff and your service manager, because the big boys negotiate it and then the other people have to run the program on a day-to-day. And with all the details, it gets difficult.
So you shared with us there's a common contract clause. A dealer has no ideas in the agreement. Is that auto-renew feature?
No, that's just one of them. So we talked about creeps. Maybe there's other creeps that are around here. So we've got things in the agreement that say they can raise prices at any time that they want. Well, wouldn't that be nice for you guys to do that? Yeah. Or how about
that should be redlined in every contract, I think.
Because well, I'm telling you, a lot of times people do write it out. But the other one is it's the invoice. So they'll put on the invoice that if you do not see it within 10 days, you've agreed to it. Sam, what industry can you get away with that? Yeah. I mean,
so why has that become acceptable in uniforms? Why is that acceptable?
Say it again.
Why has that become acceptable in the uniform service market?
I think it's that's a great question. You'd have to ask these big boys, but at the end of the day, these are Fortune 500 companies. They have to get a return, and they're incentivized to do that. So I have three brothers: Daryl, Dave, Darren, Dan. 4 boys, and they would be incentivized. Okay, you're going to take these 5 mats out today, and you're going to get them down as free trials, and they end up staying on the floor forever. Right. So they're incentivized to grow. That's part of the business. And at the end of the day, this just becomes like wallpaper on the wall for your folks. It's like, okay, the guy comes in, he comes out. I've got an issue. I got a shortage. Is Bob still on the invoice? Is he not on the invoice? Right. So these programs live and breathe. And I will tell you, if they're not being checked every single month for contract compliance, when do dealers have time to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So one news item, and then we'll go to your COVID story as we wrap up. So with Cintas acquiring UniFirst and the uniform service market consolidating, I think dealers be curious, what does that mean for a dealer who's already mid-contract? Are they more exposed, or is there a window to renegotiate that?
Quality of uniform? Sorry, I'm having a little bit of audio.
No. Cintas, with Cintas acquiring UniFirst.
Yes. Okay. So the acquisition of Cintas and UniFirst is an absolutely huge thing. In the 29 years that I've been in this business, this is the biggest thing that's happened, and Vestas as well, which is Cintas is acquiring UniFirst for about $5.5 billion. So Cintas is going to go from about 1 million customers to $1.5 million. So if you are someone who is actually utilizing the UniFirst and you moved away from Cintas,
Yeah.
guess who's coming back?
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. So as we wrap up today, you have a special place in your heart for dealers, and it relates to COVID and some of the challenges that surrounded that time period. We may have actually lost him here. I think we were having a little bit of technical difficulties. So what we're going to do is we're going to dash to our next guest. We'll have Darren checked out behind the scenes, and we'll bring him back if Darren, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm having some audio issues. My apologies.
Okay, you know what, Darren, we're going to let you go backstage. We'll bring you back at a later time. Let's go to our next guest, Wes Lloyd, Service Director at Stuckey Auto. Wes, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
I'm having audio issues.
And you know what? I every now and again I pull a super fast one. Sometimes we'll have audio issues, and then I'm like, hey, let's go to the next guest. And it takes production crew. They got to catch up. So thank you for allowing that to happen. So,
absolutely.
Hey, for the world, tell us who you are, what you do, and how's biz in your stores, Wes?
So I'm the service director at Stuckey Automotive. Oversee 8 different repair centers, cover 3 different counties. I've been in the business for about 20 years. Started turning wrenches whenever I first got into it, then just kind of progressively made my way from there to the service desk, and now near the top of where I could be, and just thrilled to be there too. Great company, and very proud of what we do here. So
in your fixed ops world, you've got a lot of different brands. You've got Ford, Subaru, you've got GMC, Chrysler, you've got Nissan, you've got Mitsubishi, Ford, and whatnot else. You have a big job spread out among multiple stores. Before we get into strategy, talk to us. What does your week actually look like day to day? How do you manage all that?
It's chaotic. I mean, I think that's probably the best way to summarize it. Funny is you were kind of talking about it, the first part of the show, the 2-step verification, right? Even to get into GM's platform, Ford's platform, Subaru's platform, species, every one of them have a two-step. And if you have them in the same browser, they're contradicting one another. So it's interesting. And that's a good explanation of basically how all of it works, right? Constant things you're trying to keep up with. So
it's constant. And I lost access to my spreadsheet here, and I got kicked out at the worst possible time. It was crazy. And then I had to go through a 2-step authentication in the pivot. So it was all sorts of fun. So with all those brands, which brand is winning in March 2026 in the fixed operations department? Who is helping you the most?
I'll be honest and tell you that I spend the majority of my time here with Subaru, and so it's always got a little piece of my heart that is, it's a wonderful functioning brand. If we always joke about that, if we could have multiple Subaru stores, we would, because once you get the clientele running and everything, the cars sell themselves, the customers sell their own service work. It rolls along.
What is Subaru doing right this year that other manufacturers or OEMs could learn from?
I think it's just something about how their mentality is taking care of the customer first. They definitely have that mentality, and honestly, it aligns perfectly with our values at Stuckey's too. Is taking care of the customer, and when you take care of the customer, it builds the business in return. It just keeps coming back to you.
Yeah. You've built a technician recruiting pipeline as well, similar to Ryan. Talk to us about what you've built and where you're going with that.
So and across at least the 2 of our main counties, we work with the local career technology centers. We have co-op students in basically every one of the stores. Some of them have 2. Our body shop, I think, even has more than that. We work with these kids basically in their senior year. Work to develop them from, the beginning of the year of just, they kind of watch and observe and maybe help a little bit. And then by the end of the year, we're looking to gauge, what their progress has been, and, help them to develop to, like, by the end of the school year, someone who's ready to be hired and someone who can start and kind of have a good functionality day one. Right.
Yeah. So we talked with Ryan the importance of video MPI and pictures and whatnot to create that great customer experience. And I do think there's a connection to customer pay. There's a connection to CSI, everything else. You recently deployed that across the group.
Yeah.
What has it done for your approval rates, for the bottom line? What numbers do you have for us in that?
As far as numbers, I mean, without spending a little bit of time, I couldn't give you anything specific, but like to tell you, I mean, it's an honest, very, very easy thing to see the difference in what someone's willing to spend when you're very just transparent with them by showing them their car. You're starting at the back of the car, showing their license plate so that it's very clear to them that, that we are on their car, right? And then working your way around, showing them what their tires look like, what their brakes look like, what their filters look like. It's been an objection with probably, we've heard for years, right? Well, that's not the filter on my car. You're showing me somebody else's brake pads. You're taking that out of the equation when you're shooting your video and sending it to the customer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What was the hardest? How long ago did you implement video in your world?
I would say it's been somewhere right around probably like 5 years.
Okay. So it's been a long time.
Yeah. A while. Yeah. Yeah.
What's your take? There are shops that are slower to implement that. What's your take on that? Why is it hard for some stores, some shops, some organizations to make that part of their culture when you've been doing it for 5 years, presumably back to a time when, people looked at video and it was very difficult to actually generate and send, let alone
it's changed, right? It makes everybody uncomfortable, right? We're changing something it's a part of our daily process. But, when we jumped on board with it, our goal was always to be the best with it, right? So how can we develop this? How can we make it play to our advantage? How can we be ahead of the curve, right? We're dynamic in what we do at Stuckey's. So we're looking at how we can be the best with the process right out of the gate. And now, you see it in a lot of the manufacturer surveys, right? Where you offer a video MPI during your service there. Well, guess what? If you've already eliminated that, you've already made up your mind that you're going to be fully committed to making that change and adapting to it. We're ahead of the curve whenever everybody else is going, oh, hey, this is something we got to do. We're already there. The process is developed.
Yeah. So one other area I wanted to hit on, multi-brand warranty management is tough, right? It's an underappreciated P&L lever in fixed ops. Between Ford, Stellantis, Nissan, Subaru, and GM, you've got 5 different warranty cultures and as many different reimbursement processes. Where do you win in that? Where do you lose? What's the biggest challenge most dealers face in warranty reimbursement? Because that's a huge gap for people that haven't fully solved for it. And with multiple OEMs, it's a challenge.
It's honestly, when we have our warranty administrators, they figure out the finite details of some of that stuff, right? Trying to wrap my head around all the different OEMs and the different things you can do. Honestly, in the middle of a warranty rate analysis for our Subaru store right now, and it's the little tweaks and twists and things that you can do, and you learn that as you've done it a couple of times, but getting to understand the different processes that each one of them follow when it comes to, they're all the same when it comes to, obviously they all have cause correction complaint cause and correction, right? Yeah. But how you can build the time and make sure that you're maximizing what you're getting from them is really where you start to have to think outside of the box and develop those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you said in your intake form, you talked about how you changed your mind about something important and how you run fixed operations. What was it and what made you change it?
And I'm trying to think of honestly what that was, probably, to be perfectly honest with you. And
no, it's okay. Or just give us, is there anything, you run a lot of stores.
Yeah.
Have you had a mindset shift over the past few years about any part of the operation, about any process where you're like, hey, you know what, that used to be true, but it's not true in 2026. And as a result of changing, you're winning more in that world.
Honestly, our entire process when it comes to from the check-in process to the redelivery process, just there really doesn't need to be anything that's different from brand to brand when it comes to that, right? You do your proper walk around, turning the wheel, checking the car in. Again, this is no different than your video MPI. You're being transparent with the customer because you're showing them, their inspection. We're obviously in PA, so you're saying, hey, your state inspections due. How about we do that? You're very simply showing them things and recommending them and letting them add them onto their service, right? You're turning the wheel, you're showing them what their tires look like before that even gets in the shop. And then your technician follows through with proper video, proper tread depth inspection of it. And all that's doing is just reinforcing what you've already shown them, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's been, I think, our biggest game changer is dialing in a specific process and making sure we stick with it.
That's great. That's good. So you heard Darren, and we're going to bring Darren back here in just a moment. Laundry guy. We had just a little bit of tech issues. He'll be back. Yeah. What's your take on invoice creep as it relates to some of those items? I see it in the COO role. It drives you insane, drives you crazy. And like I said, it's two levers. It's invoice creep, but then it's also quality decline over time. And at Ziegler, we've been fortunate to have great partners. So I don't think we've been hurt as much by that as others. But what's your take on that?
It's funny. He obviously mentions that. And it's like, we've all seen it, right? Yeah. You're looking at an invoice for your uniforms or for your oil disposal or for whatever. And it's like, man, I feel like the last time I looked at this was $50 less or whatever, what we try to make sure that we have done to counteract that is creating purchase orders for every single item, and the manager touches them, that the manager's signing on them. So, right away when you're doing your uniforms, right? Yeah. Hey, this doesn't seem right. It was $100 last week. Yeah. I'm making a PO for $150 this week. I mean, it's no new secret to us. It's just trying to be ahead of, I guess, watching out for it consistently, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Before we go back to Darren, and we'll put you backstage here for just a minute, what's one process that you just live and die by in the auto group 2025 that's helped you achieve greater profitability, greater customer retention, greater CSI in the service department that others might learn from? I mean,
and we already touched on it, and I hate to kick back to that, but honestly, it's the video API, without a doubt.
Yeah. 5 years in a row.
Yeah. It's that builds your surveys, and it reinforces everything and builds trust. And that's just, again, I hate to reinforce it again, but it's the honest truth. It really is.
So you're so big on culture. Both you and Ryan are huge on culture. And I asked guests this last episode, what's more important in successful, profitable dealer operations in 2026? Is it culture or is it process?
I mean, honestly, I think if you have the right culture, you can teach the process, right? That's the mentality when we're interviewing, we're looking to hire. I'm looking for someone with the right culture, because the right culture is something that I don't know that you can change in someone. The process is something that you just got to develop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Wes Lloyd, service director at Stuckey Auto, hang backstage with us for just a minute. I think if we have time, we're going to bring you both you and Ryan back on, but we want to bring Darren in. So thanks for being on the show today. Thanks for sharing your perspectives. All right. We'll have you back in a moment. Darren, welcome back. Darren Spenst, founder and CEO of The Laundry Guy. Let's see if he's there. There we go. Darren, are you there? Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go Ryan and Wes. Oh, is he there? Darren, are you there?
Guys.
You know what? Sometimes, here's what I'm going to say. All right, there you go. Hey, Darren, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Sam.
Can you hear? Are you there? Darren, welcome back to the show.
I can't hear.
Okay. We're going to put him backstage. And listen, here's something I would tell you. I talked to Darren backstage. We're having technical difficulties. It happens. One thing, he wanted to make sure he got out into the world, and that's why we wanted to try to bring him back. They, during COVID, as a company, were enormously challenged, and he wanted to express gratitude to auto dealers because they rallied together to help support each other, help get each other through a tough time, and I know he wanted that message echoed. So we're going to go to our closing out roundtable, Ryan Carlstedt and Wes Lloyd. Let's see if we can get both those guys back up, and then we'll wrap out today's show. And you know what? If we can't get that up, then we'll just we'll wrap. So do we have both of our guests, Ryan and Wes? Ryan and Wes, welcome back. All right, I can hear them. I just can't see them. And you know what? Here's the deal: is I probably just asked for you all too fast. So, as we wrap out the show today, and we got to have both of you up for it to work really well. We talked a lot about technician recruitment. We talked a lot about training and development. What do you think is the most misunderstood component of training, technician and service advisor recruitment in March 2026 in automotive? What's the most underappreciated, realized component of that? Ryan and Wes. Here we go. Game on. Let's go. Ryan, you first.
is very different than technician. I think advisor's the most kind of overlooked. Is I think everybody wants a turnkey advisor, somebody that's going to come in and already know everything. And I don't think that's necessary. I think the main thing, we keep talking about culture.
Yeah.
Can this person fit our culture? Are they going to take care of our customers? And can I teach them, how to sell? Can I teach them I don't care if an advisor knows everything about a car. Can I teach him? Can I teach her? Absolutely. It's just that positive attitude, come in, willingness to learn. I think that's the biggest thing for advisors. Our employee of the year last year, the last 2 years, has been a service advisor, and our employee of the year last year, 2025 employee of the year, Marion from our Land Rover store. When I talk about the culture at that store, she's one of the drivers of it. She's always happy, just super happy to be at work, super happy, friendly to every single person that comes in that door. I've never seen anything like it before. And now I see it all over the place because it's infectious. And I think we need to find these turnkey 15-year service advisors. And honestly, I don't know that I want that.
Yeah. Wes, what do you think is the most misunderstood about recruitment in technician and advisor? And I think you are right. Like, they're not the same role, but how would you answer that?
You're opening the door for somebody. If you got a customer, or honestly, anybody walking there, you're just looking for that common value of like someone who has a general care for other human beings. Because if they do, they're fixing cars for the right reasons. They're doing things for the right reasons. And but I am going to say, I'm an advocate of we grow them both, advisors and technicians. Technicians are, the years of recruiting them from other dealers and things, they're just gone. They're not looking to move around like they used to be.
Yeah.
Like Ryan said, if they are, all they're doing is chasing dollars. They're probably not the right person that you want there anyways. I want to grow them because honestly, if they come up through the ranks with you, they're more loyal to you. They're more likely to stay.
All right, we're gonna go quick rapid fire. What's the single most underutilized profit opportunity in dealerships right now, 2026? Let's start with you, Wes. Biggest, most underutilized profit opportunity.
Honestly, I think it's not checking and utilizing like alignments and stuff. It's something we put a big focus on recently. It saves the customer a lot of money if they're not eating up tires. So,
Ryan?
Yeah, I'll echo that. I'd add rotate and balance to that list. Yeah, I think rotation and balance back when I was an advisor, where you do a rotation every 7,500 miles and a balance every 15,000 miles, and now with extended oil change, it's like we've just forgotten that we ever need to balance the wheels and tires. And I think put it in with the alignment and just make it an annual thing. You got to master that.
Who's right, the OEM or the car dealer? Extended oil change or on our interval to bring them back in for more frequent tire rotations? Wes?
Honestly, we try to adapt the balance because we're in that mixed climate where we're not severe duty, but we're not regular maintenance either. We're not driving on the flat plains of Kansas, but we're not driving in the Rockies. So we try to adapt a little bit in between and kind of, you don't have to take an official stance there, I guess, right? Right?
Yeah.
Kind of bipartisan, if you will.
Ryan?
Yeah, you got to go a little political there. I think there's a meet in the middle. The old days of 3,000 miles on an oil change, I think that's too soon. 5,000 is probably a happy middle. But I drive a truck. I drive a GM truck and a Chevy Silverado. I love my truck. It's got the maintenance reminder on it. I cannot let that thing get below 20%. But that's what General Motors says. I mean, I've tried one time. I think I was at 28. It said add oil. I'm out on that. I just 7,500. That's probably as far. 7,500 is the absolute maximum. I would go on my personal.
Yeah.
And so that's what I recommend to our guests: 5,000, 7,500. Anything more than that, you're rolling.
All right. Next question up. What's one dealership metric you wished every GM would pay attention to fixed ops every day?
Well, they pay attention to every single one. What do you?
Yeah,
I mean,
I look at a lot of them.
No, we're a scorecarding company. We look at all the metrics, you know. And
What's the most important metric you have for fixed ops?
They all play so well together. I mean, you could sit here and say ELR. I think somebody commented on this earlier, ELR, but you know, you can change your ELR with your hours per RO. They kind of do this little teeter-totter thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't look at just one. One doesn't tell the story. You have to really call it 5 right in front of you, you know, like
Yeah.
your effective labor rate is a percentage of your door rate. That's obviously important, but so is hours per RO. And we can't really just give up a bunch of hours per RO to get our effective labor rate where we want it to be. You have to look at those together at the same time. And, you know, sales and upselling, the video percentage, how much have we increased since we've gotten good at it? I trend my customer pay dollars for all my service departments, and I look at it. I have it on the screen now. It goes back to 2016, and it trends every month. And when you look,
And what's the trend? How's it trending?
Up.
Up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, it dipped in there with a little bit with COVID, you know, and some COVID lasts a little longer than others with all the different brands. Everything's a little different. Some are doing better than others today.
Yeah.
But when I chart customer pay trending along on a report next to our video penetration,
Yeah.
those two correlate as well. You know, my stores that are the best at videos have the biggest CP increases.
Oh, I love that.
You can't just look at one. You really need to pay attention to all.
All right. So then that leads us to our last question of the roundtable for today. What's the one strategic move a large dealer group should make March of 2026 to win in the coming year?
I mean, hopefully they're already doing everything right. But
you know what? How many are doing everything right? That's not possible. Otherwise, both of us would be out of a job. All three of us would not have a job. Fair?
I mean, it's customer focused. I mean, I think that's, you know, it seems to be what Ryan refers to a lot as the culture, which is taking care of your customer. Right?
Yep. Well, Ryan and Wes, we absolutely appreciate both of you joining us for this special edition of Fixed Ops Friday. We went a little long because of some tech and because of some breaking news. So we appreciate both of you for being on. Thanks for joining the roundtable today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a great time.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and to our loyal Daily Dealer live audience, we say thank you for joining this episode on this Friday, March 20th. Thanks for watching Daily Dealer Live, where we break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen. Don't forget, we're live here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if this is your world, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never, ever miss a beat. We'll see you next episode. Thanks, everybody.